Morning everybody, cycling in Girona in northeastern Spain. What's it like? Is it any good? Should you spend your money? Stick around and you'll find out. Now, I have just returned from a week cycling in Girona with my daughter Rachel, and we had well, I'll let you watch the video. There's a little bit of film about our trip and I'll come back to you at the end to sum up. Enjoy the ride. To Brava, and not far from the Pyrenees, and we flew by Ryanair and we flew to Girona airport. You can fly to Barcelona airport, but that's a little bit further away. We'd booked an Airbnb, or my daughter had booked it online, a very nice Airbnb, and the owner Louis picked us up from the airport. Now, I'd brought my own bike, but my daughter Rachel hired a bike from Bike Breaks in Girona, and very friendly guy called Dave there very helpfully sorted her out with a Cannondale ladies bike. So we arrived on the Saturday fairly early, so we had a wander around the city, and then on Sunday we went for our first ride. And we were heading out of the city, and it's a beautiful old city. You can see here it's early in the morning. There are very few people about. It was a bright day. Girona is part of Catalonia, and Catalonia is very keen on independence, as you may have seen. Now, this cafe, Buttercup, was a few minutes walk away from where we were staying in the old town, and it was a fabulous place. So we set out on our first ride. Dave at Bike Breaks had suggested this loop that we do. Subsequently found out it's called Hingapi's Loop. It includes the climb of Santa Pelaya, or Pelaya, and then up the climb of Els Angels. So we're now at the top of Els Angels, or Els Bells as we call it, and it's quite a tough climb. I thought about 6 or 7k. Rachel took it easy, but I was huffing and panting. That was it. Rachel's really pissed off with me now, so I'm going to switch off. But I don't know if you can see anything of the view in the background, probably not. I'm going to turn the camera around slowly, very slowly, otherwise you'll get dizzy. And there you are. I don't know what you can see. You can see some people. Long descent back into Girona, and then we went to one of the famous coffee shops. This is called La Fabrica, and this is owned by Christian Meyer, ex-pro rider, and his wife Amber Meyer. And it's a beautiful stone-walled basement room, and they do fabulous food and fabulous coffee. There's a couple of pictures there of Christian Meyer during his racing days. And Rachel enjoyed a pulled pork bagel, and I enjoyed a smoked salmon bagel. Now, most of the bike hire places in Girona do group rides, which is open to anybody. And so on the Monday, we decided to join the ride organised by Eat, Sleep, Cycle, which is one of the bike shops. Anybody can join. You rock up at about 9:30, just register your interest. It's free, no charge. They called it a social ride. There was about 25 people on this ride, so quite a big group. Many of them seem to be either regulars or perhaps lived in Girona or knew each other. There's some people there from the Marlow Bike Club, I think who were here for a week. But we latched on to the back of them. It was a nice, gentle, fairly steady route out of Girona. Girona is a big city, a city of 100,000 people, so it's very useful if you get proper routes on your Wahoo or your Garmin that take you out of the city. Anyway, we followed some very quiet roads to this lake of Banyoles, and that in the background is the climb up to Roca Corba. The lake was used during the 1992 Barcelona Olympics for the canoe events, and it's supposed to be very deep. And there's this very, very pretty cafe on the shores of the lake where we had another cup of coffee, and then some people went back to Girona after looking at these ducks, and the rest of us did the climb up to Roca Corba. And it's quite a hard climb, actually. It reminded me a bit of Ventoux. It's 13.7k long. I'm not quite sure where it starts from. Here we are, still looking at a canoeist on the lake. It was a nice day, by the way, hot day, very sunny,
and here's a group of people ready to head off up to the climb of Rocacorba.
So now we're on the Rocacorba climb, and it's a tough one. We just stopped on this bend here to have a little drink, and Rachel's having some energy bar. We're about halfway up. As you can see, a bit like Von 2, it's packed. We must have seen, I don't know, 100 cyclists at least, both going up, both going down. Seen people on electric scooters, roller skates, all kind of stuff, motorbikes, hundreds of them. Been a right pain. Anyway, a little moment of silence right now. I expect there'll be more along in a moment. Some sort of shrine here, a shrine perhaps to the Strava KOM or QOM. Not going to be us today, maybe next time. Rocacorba, we've done it. Rachel carried on going, she didn't want to stop. I stopped. Take this video for all you guys, and yes, I'm a bit out of breath. We're not quite there yet, a bit further to go.
There's nothing at the top of Rocacorba. Well, it's these radio masts, I suppose, but there isn't any cafe or anything like that. And it's a dead end, Rocacorba, so you go up to the top, you turn around and you come back down again. There is a viewing area, and there is a fabulous view over the valley and looking down the valley and then looking over to the mountains. You're looking down on Banyoles. There's me, and there's a kind of ski jump there. Actually, I think it's probably a hang glider's jump. So you can sit on there and slide off the edge if you were so minded. We didn't.
So the climb of Rocacorba is done, and here we are after the descent. Very nice descent, past hundreds of cyclists on their way up, and a whole load of motorcyclists and a whole bunch of people in Porsches. What is it with people in Porsches and these climbs? But now we've descended back to the beautiful lake of Banyoles, and here is well, I don't know what it is actually. It's a building. Anyway, it's a building on the lake. You can't get into it, so it might be an elaborate structure hiding a sewage farm. On the other hand, it might be a Hindu temple here at the lake. Seems an odd place, but you never know. And here, well, ducks. See that? Ducks. Quack ducks. Quacking ducks. And there's some reeds, and in the background a range of hills, mountains, and beyond that the Pyrenees, but you can't see them.
Now, we were in Girona in September, early September, 7th to the 14th to be precise, and the weather was not quite as I expected. It was quite sunny and hot for a number of days, but it wasn't that way all the time, and in fact Tuesday it poured with rain. There were a few sunnier spells in the afternoon, and then all of Wednesday morning it rained as well. So we didn't go out riding on Tuesday, we did go out riding on Wednesday. So Tuesday we took a walk around the old city, and the thing about Girona, unlike for example Porta Pollença in Mallorca, pleasant place though it is, there's nothing actually to see in Porta Pollença other than the sea and quite a few shops, cafes, bars, stuff like that. But Girona, there is culture. Believe it or not, there's a cathedral, there's a Jewish museum, there's a number of other museums, including an art museum, and it is a fabulous old medieval city. So the newer part of the city is not particularly attractive. It's a city of about 100,000 people. It's quite a busy place. But the old city, which is crossed by these various little bridges, including a very famous red iron bridge, designed by Gustav Eiffel of Eiffel Tower fame. So we wandered round Tuesday with an umbrella, bought an umbrella because it was pouring with rain, and went into all these various places, including the cathedral, and also a museum of cinema. There isn't any film of this, unusually, being in the Museum of Cinema, but it's actually a fascinating place, charting the history and development of cinema, including the cameras, projectors, sound equipment. Very interesting, it is, very interesting. Now, throughout the city, there are a number of cafes. I've already mentioned La Fabrica. And Christian Meyer and his wife also own the service course, which is like a bike rental place, but it also allows you to have a shower and buy various bits of equipment, and they'll service your bike and so forth. And they also own a coffee shop called Espresso Mafia, which we'll see later when they manufacture the coffee. And here you can see the Eiffel Bridge. You can see the red iron design. And the Eiffel Bridge is, well, it's not busy all the time, but there's quite often people on it, people like me taking film or taking photographs, or like this fellow walking along with his shopping, as far as I can tell. Anyway, you can wander around the city, you can buy stuff. There are lots of very nice schnooky shops, as my daughter calls them. So there's lots of stuff to buy. And if you're a Game of Thrones fan, Game of Thrones, never actually seen Game of Thrones myself, but I'm told that there are a number of scenes that were shot in Girona, including those steps up to the cathedral, where there was some person, was it Jon Snow, the newsreader, who rode his horse up those steps? Or was it one of the others, Daenerys, I think. Anyway, you can see I don't know very much about Game of Thrones. Now, this famous lion's arse, actually is a stone arse, and if you kiss the arse, it means you'll return to Girona. And we both kissed the arse, so we hope to return to Girona. Now, there's Rachel getting on her bike, and this is Wednesday. Now, the weather cleared up in the afternoon, but we did, on Wednesday, a ride out to San Hilari, and there's a 18-kilometre climb. It's not steep by any means, it's only about 3% average, and it was very wet, it was quite cold, and the road surface wasn't particularly good because there was bits of debris and leaves and twigs and so forth that had spread all over the road. But by the time we got to the top, it took us quite a long time, we found a cafe in Sant Hilari Sacam, which is not a very pretty village, but we found a cafe, and then there's a lovely descent, and the sun came out and it was dry. So that was Wednesday. Now Thursday, we decided to do a ride to the coast, and this ride goes to Tossa de Mar. Now there are various routes that you can follow to the Costa Brava coast. It's about 30 miles, 25, 30 miles. You see that white van that flashed past there? I thought it was in Biggin Hill, for Christ's sake. Now here is Tossa de Mar. There's a sort of walled old city, castle bit there, a bit difficult to see really. Tossa de Mar is, well, it's a bit like Margate. It's a fairly typical kind of Spanish expatriate British seaside town resort where you can get mugs of proper British tea, because Johnny Foreigner can't make decent tea, as we all know. Anyway, the sun came out, it was beautiful, it was a gorgeous day, it was quite hot. We cycled down to Tossa de Mar, and then you follow the coast road, and you follow the coast road, and you climb up and 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 up, and you've seen this in all the films or videos or YouTube stuff. It's a beautiful climb. It's fairly busy. It wasn't that busy, but it was fairly busy. And there are a number of beautiful coves like this that you look down on, fabulous beaches. It does really look very pretty, I must say. But it's a long climb, and you follow the road up, and then you turn off and you head up to a place called San Grau. And this was another long climb, not particularly hard climb, but a continuous climb, probably about 5-6 miles, something like that. And once you've done the climb, there is a long descent heading down towards Girona, and you have a pass through a village called Llagostera, which is fairly pretty. And then you're back into Girona. Now the next day, which was our last day, the Friday, we decided to go back out to the lake because it would be a fairly short recovery ride. We were a bit tired by this time. So here is our Airbnb apartment. It's right in the centre of Girona, very close to this cafe called Buttercup, but at the top of some steps, quite a lot of steps actually, about 20-30 steps. Anyway, every morning we went to Buttercup, which is a fabulous cafe, and Rachel loved the granola, and I really loved the croissant, which they served with almost a bucket of butter. Listen to that, a bucket of butter. As a typical cyclist, I can eat a bucket of butter quite easily with jam and marmalade, and they present it very prettily, I must say. €3.50, I think it is, for that croissant. Is that very much? Well, considering the amount of butter I had, I think it was worth it. Anyway, I'll stop going on about the butter. But Buttercup, if you go to Girona, go to Buttercup. And we then headed out on a fairly flat route that took us back to Banyoles. And we had a route, again, that Dave at Bike Breaks had given us, which is round the lake. You don't go that close to the lake a lot of the time. You follow the road which sort of dips in and out of the lake, as you can, not dipping in and out of the lake obviously, but dipping in and out near to the lake. And so you do a loop and then you come back to Girona on some pretty quiet roads. One point to make is Girona is a big city. It's about 100,000 people, and the old city is not on the outskirts. It's fairly near the centre of the city, so it is a bit awkward to get out of the city. It's not difficult, but it certainly helps if you've got routes from somebody like Dave at Bike Breaks that shows you the best ways to get out of the city, because there are some pretty major roads, some motorways, some A roads, some pretty busy roads. So if you've got a route that takes you out of the city, that's going to be a big advantage. So once back in the city, and that's me there wearing the Old Portland Cycling Club top, we went to La Fabrica, lovely cafe. Rachel had a pulled pork and I had a salmon bagel again. And we had a look round at all the other cyclists. We went there in our kit. You have to go in your kit. If you go there not in your kit, people might think you're not a cyclist. And if you go there in your kit, they still might think you're not a cyclist, but at least you can pretend. And there's a close-up of Rachel's pulled pork bagel. And very delicious it was. And afterwards, we had another wander around the old city. Now, this is one of the great things about Girona, and going back to Porto Pollença in Mallorca, it's not something you can really do, because there isn't much to see. But in Girona there is a lot to see. So you wander around the old city, you wander around the old city walls you can do. There are these various steps. There's a group of Danish cyclists who seem to be following us around all day for some reason. There's well, no, there weren't hundreds of them anyway. They were doing just what we were doing. They were having a bike ride, having some scoff and having a cup of coffee. And if you're in Girona, that's the thing to do. And then we took our bikes back, or rather I took my bike back to the flat. Rachel took her bike back to Bike Breaks. We got changed and we went to Espresso Mafia, also owned by Christian Meyer and his wife Amber Meyer, and we had a very nice cup of coffee. And did we have some cake? Yes, I think I actually had what is a kind of Catalan donut, which contains a lot of custard and a lot of sugar. Anyway, it was delicious. And then we went back, we got changed, we got packed up, and we left early the Saturday morning in a cab back to Girona Airport. And that is Girona, and that is cycling in Girona.
Well, that was my week cycling in Girona with my daughter Rachel, and we had a wonderful time. So if you're thinking of going to Girona, the only thing I can say is go. It is a beautiful city. It's a very interesting city. There's a lot of things to see and do, even if you're not riding your bike. If you are riding your bike, there is a fabulous mixture of roads. There are short climbs, there are long climbs, there are hard climbs, there are easy climbs, there are quiet roads, there are rolling roads, there are coastal roads, there are flat roads, there are plenty of gravel roads, although we didn't try those. There's a big selection of hotels, there are great restaurants, there are great cafes, the coffee is wonderful, Buttercup is to die for in terms of having breakfast. The weather is very good, although we did have a couple of rainy days, well, one particular very rainy day and one rainy morning. It's easy to get to. Girona Airport is not busy. There are plenty of Airbnb places. What's not to like? Should you go? Absolutely. Should you spend your money? Absolutely. Is it the best place to go cycling in the world? Well, I haven't been everywhere, but I've been to a lot of places. Am I going to go back to Girona? Absolutely, and as soon as I can. And if I can go with my daughter Rachel, even better. So, hope you enjoy these videos. If you want to see more of them, you can subscribe by pressing the button down below. If you want to give me a thumbs up, you can. If you want to give me a thumbs down, you can. If you want to ask me any questions either about Girona or about the rest of my videos, please do, and mark it in the comments. Thanks very much for watching, and see you next time.